Too.
Fantastic. All right, Lucy, where am I reaching you? What town do you live in?
I live in London.
Oh, big city gal.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
And how old are you?
I'm 20.
Who is that behind you?
I'm actually in my brother's room. I think it's Raphael Nadal.
Um, are you also a tennis fan? Who are your sports heroes, Lucy?
Do you know what? I don't really have any huge sports heroes. I think one I really looked up to when I was getting into like endurance sports is Lucy Charles Barkley, the triathlete.
Okay,
Um,
not just because her name is Lucy.
no, that's a fun coincidence. I think I just like admired like the training volume, and I guess like I didn't actually know about HYROX at that point, and I think it's just like she does Ironman obviously, and I definitely want to do one of those one day, not soon, but one day.
Right.
And yeah, I just think like obviously it's an amazing feat, and I was like, that's really cool.
And are you currently in university?
I'm not actually, no.
Do you just plan on staying on the athlete track?
I think so, yeah. Well, I actually started uni a couple of years ago, like straight out of school, pretty much, and I basically left after a month. It wasn't really like the right time, like in my life for it, and I kind of was struggling a little bit. And I think like I was at school and sat like major exams through COVID and things,
Ugh.
and I think really like I could have done with a break. And yeah, going into uni was just like I wasn't really on the right course, and I kind of thought I really just don't. I think I need to take a year out, so I left. And the plan was always to go back, but then kind of HYROX came in, and like looking back, it was really like it was a huge risk to not go back in. And I had a job for a while as well, which I left about 3 months out of World Champs in June. And I was like, I really just like want to go all in on this sport and see what maybe I can achieve in the next few months, because it became apparent to me that there were a lot of sponsors and potential for like to go full time coming in. And I was like, if there's ever a time to do it, it's now, because I can go back to uni, I can get a new job, and
Plenty
you
of
know,
time for all of that.
but if I want to pursue this now and have a crack at actually going full time and going professional, I was like, I need to focus all in and like win that age group world title.
So we'll get to that for sure. How are your parents with all of it? Are they cool?
Yeah, my parents are really supportive. I live with my mum, and she's like my biggest support. Yeah, she just like, even if I'm like, I'm gonna do this thing, can you please believe in me? Even if she's like, okay, that's a big goal, she's like, okay, I support you. Like I believe in you. My dad, I don't speak to as much, but he's also like really supportive. I think at first he was more questioning of like my decision to like leave education, obviously, because he was kind of more skeptical, and he's like, whoa, 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 hang on a second, you need a backup here. Um, which obviously I completely understand from his standpoint. Obviously, he just wants me to be successful and to not end up with no job and no degree. And yeah, he was more, you need to think this through. But I guess things are really working out now. A couple of years down the line, and he's like, yeah, you took a big risk, but it's paying off.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for betting on oneself.
Yeah, I think I mean I really did fully, and I think even when I did kind of take that decision to do that, I don't think I realized actually quite how much of a risk I was taking.
Well, honestly, when you're young, you kind of have all the time in the world. It doesn't seem that way, but I can tell you from experience. So I went to university kind of on and off, and it was kind of the opposite. My mother was the one who was like, you have to get a degree, you have to have some kind of something to fall back, like all that stuff. My mom, my stepdad, and my biological dad was always just like, yeah, man, pursue your dreams. So like I moved up to live with him, and I was trying to do stand up in the entertainment industry, and I did that for 10 years and I loved it. Like I have zero regrets, and I never went back to college, and my life turned out fine for the most part.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for it, and obviously like it's working out. And I think, to be honest, a lot of it's like right place, right time. Obviously HYROX is going massive at the moment, and it's great to see. It's great to see so many people coming into it, especially obviously the fitness scene in London's massive, and there's all kinds of HYROX classes and fitness clubs and things you can join, and coaches and people getting into it. And like everyone I know is suddenly doing HYROX, um which is great. It's great to see, and it's great for the sport and the sponsors and everything. But I think realistically, if I was doing my first HYROX now, as opposed to 2 years ago when I did, I would stand much less of a chance of like making sponsorships and things.
So when did that start for you? Your first HYROX was when?
It was Glasgow 2023, so that's nearly 2 years ago because it was February.
Right. And were you trying to do a closer one to you, and that's just was the closest one?
I think what I actually did originally was I signed up for London Olympia, which was in like the end of April that year. And I was like, it's okay. I'm gonna have 6 months to train for this, and I've got a running background, so I wasn't really worried about the running side of it. And I think I got to like January, and I was like, oh, this is still like 3 months away. I just want to do one now. And we're talking like the start of 2023. At that point, it wasn't as difficult as it is today to get tickets. And I saw there was Glasgow, and obviously that's not particularly far from London in the grand scheme of things. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to enter and do this now.
So did
And
you run? Did you run in high school?
yeah, I did. I got into running quite late, actually, for late for kind of the standards of like the people I was running with. So I got into running when I was maybe like 15 or 16. I wasn't like particularly athletic as a child and an early teenager. I did lots of sports, mostly like through school, and I did a lot of swimming when I was really, really young. But I'm talking like over 10 years ago. Um,
What sports did you play?
so I played cricket, I played netball. Didn't particularly enjoy netball, but I was good at cricket. I played like field hockey. Um, yeah, swimming, I guess. I also ski quite a lot. Another little hobby of mine is also scuba diving. Just really enjoy being in the water.
Where do you ski?
Usually in France. I actually haven't been for a while. It's kind of I seem to go less and less the older I get. And obviously, skiing. It's obviously a winter sport, and going and doing like a nice week is lovely in the middle of a HYROX season. But there's always that thought of like, what if I break my leg? And then that's my season over.
Right.
But no, it's fun, and yeah, I love it. And it's really nice to go for a weekend, and obviously it's social, and it's great to have a few days off, especially if it's like in that break between December and the end of Jan when we have the first HYROXs back.
Right. So this first one, Glasgow 23. Let's have a look at this. 106.58. But as we discussed, times aren't even as important as who you race and how you do, because these courses are also bloody different.
Yeah, this was a fast course. This was also an open race. But yeah, this was a fast course. I remember the running lap having this like bottleneck thing at the top.
Right.
And essentially you could cut like 4 corners at the top of the lap.
Well, your age group isn't necessarily the most crowded at 16 to 24, but look at that. You lost to Kirsty.
Yeah, I did.
Is she still around?
No, she's not. But then I lost to her again at World Champs last year.
Oh, so we're glad she's not still coming around. Have you talked to her? Are we friends with her? What do we think?
Yeah, I spoke to her briefly. I think she just was kind of dabbling in HYROX and like did one season. I think she lives in Scotland, so that's why she did Glasgow.
Right.
But yeah, she's a great runner, and I think she's done more trail running and like half marathons and things since. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen her race this season.
So if I look at, go ahead.
Maybe she did World Champs 2023, and then she raced like this time last year.
And then we haven't seen her since.
But I don't think she came to Nice. No, she wasn't in Nice.
So I'm using High Result, my favorite website. And if I look at this, the running total, the pace, the workout total, which has improved for you the most in the last year and a half?
Is this my Glasgow race?
This is your very first race, yes.
Wow, that's mad, because my running total the weekend just gone is quicker, and that was a pro race. And at this point, I was like still doing track and cross country as my main sport. So now just being like just a HYROX athlete and not like I would say a runner as I was in this race. I'm faster now, which is crazy, and at pro weight. So I mean that's a big improvement. Out of the workouts, I think my sled pull took me like nearly 10 minutes in this race.
Wow. I think my first took me 20, but that's okay. We don't talk about first races. I did mine in Chicago in 2020, and we're pretty sure they've changed the weights. Like after the first world champs, there was this whole thing in
I've heard
Vegas.
this. I've heard
Yeah,
this.
they will never admit it, but yeah, I remember just I couldn't move that thing. It was insane. I didn't have the right
Yeah,
shoes either, but that's not really the excuse. It's just it was bad.
yeah, I've heard this, and I think like yeah, the sled pull until I learned how to actually do it properly, like kicked my backside in open, and then I managed to kind of crack it in open, but I think purely because I just got stronger. And then my first pro race was World Champs Manchester, and so I was like going into World Champs, and obviously at this point I'm like 19 years old, and I you know didn't really have my eyes on the whole scene in the world like as much as I do now, and kind of didn't really know what I was coming up against. I was like, I've got this. I've trained for this. I'm gonna go in and get on the podium. And I sent the first run lap like fast. I
Right.
think I was first into the skied like a maniac. Given I'm 5'3", that's obviously not really ever going to be one of my strongest stations. So yeah, that's
You are a skier though.
yeah. I don't know how much it translates.
You don't think so?
I don't know. It's I think it's more of a two person station. You know, we can improve it and get power, and I think I'm still kind of working to improve that one. But yeah, I came out the ski first. Absolutely flew around the second lap. Got to the sled push. Sled didn't move.
This is your first race you're talking about,
My first pro.
right? Um,
Yeah, that was a learning curve. Very steep one.
so when you show up now, um, so pausing you just did, right?
Yeah.
And when you show up now, is your mindset, I want to be on the podium, I want to beat these girls, or is it just I've got to stay in my zone that I know I need to be in? And zone is in terms of like your physical fitness and where you should be. And are you a clock watcher? What are your thoughts on when you get to the start line?
I think there's elements of both. I think I guess it depends on the race and what the particular goal for that race is. And as far as Poznan goes this weekend, the goal was a time. And I think I was shooting for like 102 to 103. So I'm happy with my time. I think I can definitely go quicker, which is a good position to be in, because I think the worst thing would be to have just like come in and done my first race of the season, smashed it out the park, and being like, I have no idea how to get quicker from here. So yeah, I like that there's improvements to be made. But yeah, I was kind of looking for that time, and I'd gone through and I chatted to Meg, who's my coach, and we were like, these are the splits that you know would probably be pretty attainable goals in order to achieve something around a 103. And so I was clock watching a lot. And I think especially through like the stations, I had a target in mind for each particular station. And the ones where you can like have a quick look at your watch, like on the sleds and things, I was very much like sticking to a plan. Like I knew for the sled push, I wanted to do each like length in a certain amount of time. And if I was like vastly above that, I would give myself a rest. I wasn't gonna push on and smash those target times by like 30 seconds plus, because obviously the sled push is really early in the race. And I think I was like ninth or something out of the pro fields for that. So obviously people flew in and flew out quicker than me, and then I overtook them. And the same thing happened at World Champs when I won the world title.
That's the best part about, isn't that the best part about a race, is when you know how to pace properly and
Yeah,
other people don't?
it is, and I think like, I've had this conversation so many times. Like people are learning how to pace, or people are not learning how to pace, because the amount of races I do where everyone, like I said, I did at World Champs in Manchester, absolutely fly off the start like maniacs, and either they've sent the first lap at like 3 minute kilometer pace. This happened in Poznan. Someone like I was like 30 meters behind the lead after the first lap, which must be like what 400 and something meters. And by the time we got to the inn, I was with the lead. Like,
Yeah, when I just did my last race, which was doubles in Toronto, by the first station, there were extremely fit guys walking on the far side of the track holding their sides. I mean,
yeah,
this is after one run. So
yeah.
by the second run, and then by the third run, even more people, some super fit, some not so fit. But the idea of pacing is a foreign concept to many.
I think it depends on your sporting background. And like I said, I've had this conversation lots of times. And I think if you're from a background like I am with like cross country or track where you kind of have splits and you kind of have tactics. And I guess for me, a lot of the time when I used to race cross country, I was quite nervous and quite shy, and I was also aware that I was not the best in the field. And so I would start further back and try and pick people off as the race went on. And generally, I would start and come around the first like half mile or whatever, and I was quite far back in the field. And I would just slowly creep up and up and up and pick people off as they came back. And I found that to be a much better way to race for me because it's confidence boosting. When you overtake someone, you're like, yeah, let's go. And
Do you
I think
is your cross country 3,000 meters?
it depends on like your age group and also what kind of race it is. So for when I was racing, like most league races would be 5K. And then if it was like a championship race, like a nationals or a regionals or something, it would be 6K.
Okay.
But now if I was to go back and race, I'd be up an age group, so it would be 8K.
Okay, so I don't think they do that in America. I think everybody runs the same.
I think you're right. But yeah, in the UK, as you move up the age groups, it becomes more distance. Also depends on like what kind of race it is. It can be different for like league or championship races, and then there's like relays and various other races as well that are usually shorter distances for one reason or another. But I think as a senior woman or as a woman in general, you'd very rarely race more than 8K or 5 miles.
When did you start working with Meg?
After World Champs.
After World Champs.
Yeah.
So had you met her beforehand or talked to her beforehand?
Yeah, so I actually bumped into her at in Nice. I think we were staying in the same hotel, but I was not actually aware of that until I left. Or I was leaving, and we bumped into her and Benny. And yeah, I kind of I'd never spoken to her before. I'd never met her. Of course, I knew who she was. And I watched her race in the Elite 15, and the way I executed my race, I was like, I'm going to race like that, and I did, and it worked out pretty well for me. But yeah, we chatted, and I think I was kind of toying with like I was gonna reach out to her. I think because I had a good feeling, and also it happened that weekend her agents, Snorri and Lucille Backland, they kind of had looked out for me and then ended up reaching out to me off the back of my like World Championships age group win. And so yeah, I guess wanted to kind of not centralize, that's not the right word, but have everything in one place. And I guess like we now have the same agent, she coaches me, and yeah, it's a great setup.
That's awesome. Snorri's a good dude.
Yeah, Snorri's great. And Lucille great as well. She is dealing with a few things for me at the moment, which are really exciting. So yeah, I watch this space.
It's an Englishman's favorite phrase. Watch this space. So you've got Puma right now, right?
Yeah.
And then anybody else?
Not at the moment. I've just started working with a brand called Gym Sync, which is like another little functional fitness competition, which is run by the guy that owns the CrossFit box that I train at, which is Slevin in London. And yeah, it's just like it's a great competition. Kind of any CrossFit box in the world can sign up, and it's like there's a different workout each month. And it'll be held on like one particular weekend where all these gyms hold like a competition for their members and anyone else to enter, and it's usually like a 30-minute workout.
Let's have a look. What's it called?
Gym Sync.
Is it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Is it GYMSYNC?
Yep, that's the one.
Gym Sync. Excuse me. Next up, Revolver. Next week.
Yeah.
In pairs, 2 rounds for total cows, 4-minute AMRAP, 60 box overs. Is that person 1, P1?
Yeah.
Max cow ski erg. Oh, look at this. Perfect for the HYROX athlete.
Yeah, they're great for yeah, they're really great for like power output HYROX athletes, and also it's really accessible. So these are nice things to do as well between like HYROX events.
I just want to read this for the we'll put this on video and podcast. So I want to finish reading this. All right, so 4-minute AMRAP, 60 box overs. Both of you do the box overs?
I think it's like break it up.
Okay, so like I do 30, you do 30, whatever.
Yeah.
So P1, Max cow ski erg, second person, Max cow's row erg. 1 minute rest, then another 4 minute AMRAP, 50 line facing burpees, another max cows, row and ski, another minute rest, 40 box overs, and then another. This is a cool thing. Everybody
And
should
it's
try this. You can do this anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so there's lots of gyms that are like kind of partnered with GymSync, and they will then host. So it's all on Team Aritas.
So is GymSync? Is it like, what do you call it? What do you call it? Competition Corner, like a leaderboard website.
Yeah. So they're like, it's on Team Aritas, which is like Competition Corner, and yeah, there's like a leaderboard on there.
That's super cool. You want to do the boring cardio club?
Yeah, I hosted one a couple of weeks ago. I'll be hosting more as well. This is just a thing we do at Slevin every Thursday, and
Who
yeah,
came up with this very attractive name, Boring
I think
Cardio Club?
I think Nick did, the guy who owns Slevin and founded GymSync. But yeah, it's great. We just get people together, and anyone can come down, and it's a workout very much like the GymSync ones, and people can host and bring one of their workouts to the table. And I hosted with a workout that's one of my favorites in my program, and yeah, it's great. It's just like we just spend 45 minutes to an hour just sending it together on the ergs, and it's good for networking as well.
This is your gym.
Yes, it is.
Vauxhall, where is that?
That's like South London, Southwest.
South London. Let's look it up. Vauxhall is an area of central London within the London borough of Lambeth, named after a medieval manor called Vauxhall. Did you know this?
No, actually.
Well, aren't you glad you're talking to me? Don't you want to learn more about Vauxhall?
I mean, yeah, I guess if my gym's there. On Wikipedia.
River Thames looking upstream from Vauxhall Bridge, showing St. George Wharf Tower, Battersea Power Station, and the shorelines. Left to the right of Vauxhall is Nine Elms, Battersea, and Pimlico.
That's correct. That I did know.
Okay. Nightlife. Do you have good nightlife there?
I have no idea. You think I go out? I'm too busy training.
Well, it is the home of a number of gay bars and nightclubs, such as Fire, the Eagle, and the Royal Vauxhall Tavern. That sounds like, what's his name? Stefan from SNL. It's a gay village. Apparently, it's a big gay village. So it's like one of those towns that like the gays love to go to. All right. Well, way to be a super cool town, Vauxhall. The nearest tube stations. There you go. All these places.
Yep.
There's some miniature model houses, as well as tennis courts, daycare in the 1 o'clock club. What's the 1 o'clock club?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
It's not a common English. It's not a common English phrase. The 1 o'clock club.
I don't think so, unless I'm missing something.
So you said blessing and a curse when I said you lived in London.
Yeah. I think it's great because you've got like everything on your doorstep, and you can get on the London Underground and get anywhere really quickly. And you've got so many gyms and so many fitness communities and clubs and classes and access to like everything really quickly. You don't need to drive. You can just get up and go. And obviously, like, it's a city. You can get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym, and there's people around. And the gym's open at 6 or even before 6 in some cases. Depends on the gym. But it's great, and there's lots of people here. I've got lots of friends here, but at the same time, there is almost too much to do, and it can also be really overwhelming. I just find like if I'm going to go and train, well, most days I have 2 sessions, although a lot of the time one of them will just be like easy running or something. So I don't have to worry about traveling to somewhere. Of course, I can just go out my front door. But if I'm traveling to the gym in the morning and it's rush hour, the tube is so busy. Like, you have to wait for sometimes multiple trains to go before you can actually get onto the train. And there's lots of people, and it's crowded, and it's hot. And I find that sometimes I get to the gym and I'm already exhausted. Um, so that can be a struggle, but at the same time, I can't see how you can kind of get rid of that. And obviously, it's a city thing. Equally, like there's so many classes and things, and I think a lot of the time for people that are like new to HYROX, not really for me because I've got my training program and obviously I know what I'm doing and I can go and get on with it and train by myself. But the question I get so much is like, what classes should I be doing? What things should I go to? Is this helpful? Is this helpful? What workouts? Like what's the best HYROX workout to do? And I'm like, the best HYROX workout to do is less HYROX workouts. Because there's just like so many fitness clubs and classes, and they're great for the social. They're great if you're just getting into fitness, or if you just want to meet some people that also do fitness, and go and have a fun workout. But at the same time, people that are trying to improve their HYROX or maybe move into being more competitive, it's better to go away and do your own running and your own strength and work on the things that you are actually struggling with instead of doing 6 intense HYROX workouts every week.
Do you coach anybody?
I don't coach people directly, but I do write programs for my coach.
For your coach?
No. It's a brand called My Coach. It's an
Oh,
app.
well, I was gonna say, because I can imagine your DMs blow up with that. What do I do? What's the best shoes? What do you eat? And I would think that would be the move, is like, hey, I'd love to help you, but this is what I charge. And so then like people who are serious stick around, and people who don't go off and bug somebody else on the internet.
Yeah, I've considered it, and I think maybe one day I will, but I guess right now I'm just trying to establish my career as an athlete, and I think I'm really aware of like only having a certain capacity to obviously train myself, kind of commit to like my deliverables for things like gym sync and for my coach, and then also obviously have time for myself, and then also allow time for, as I grow as an athlete and take on more sponsors and things, having time available to then be able to give to new sponsors and things. And also recover, because of course, if I'm going to train at the volume that I am, it's so important.
Uh, do you have a rest day?
Yeah, I do. I think I have this debate so much about rest and active recovery. And I think this is like some people are firmly in the camp of like you need one full rest day, can't do anything, can't move, and if you're not doing that, you're losing out equally. And these people are firmly in the camp of like active recovery doesn't exist, you can't, that's not a thing, you're either training or you're not. And I think to some degree it's true, but at the same time sometimes I just feel like if I take a full day off I feel awful for the next few days, and it would benefit me more to just go and sit on the bike and pedal for like an hour. My heart rate doesn't need to be high, can literally stay in zone 1 if I need to, but it just helps me to move blood. And yeah, I find that to be better for my recovery. Equally, sometimes I have days where I wake up and I'm just like, there is just no way I'm training today. Everything is so tired. I, in my head, am just struggling with the concept of training. And I think it's at that point where you're just like, okay, you're mentally fatigued, you're physically fatigued. You're going to not really get much out of training today. And obviously, there's a time and a place to push through and be like, you've got a race coming up. You can't just not train today, especially when it's now my job. But equally, it's been a real journey to like tuning in and listening to those days when it's actually going to benefit me more to just do nothing than go and push through, maybe be a bit miserable, or just like actually get nothing out of the session because my body's got nothing to give. Um, and in those cases, I'll just like move my days around and be like, hey, Meg, today just was not the day. Like,
I
for
don't think
this.
Meg takes a lot of rest days.
Yeah, I don't think many people at the top do.
I just remember. Shout out Meg, by the way, world champ.
Massive shout
When
out,
I
Meg.
when I met Meg, it was at this event called Rally in the Valley, and if they're like, we all got there hanging out, and then I turn around and like she's on the erg, and then like the first event happened day 1, we're waiting for event 2, she's on the rower, like she's never not moving. That was my experience of Meg. So I'm guessing that's how she coaches you, probably.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are the same. Like I said, like I think to get to the elite, which is obviously what I'm trying to do, and I'm crossing everything for a roll down to Hong Kong. Um,
How far are you down?
I'm 24th.
Okay, so we
But there
need
are
that's
some
a lot.
people.
That's a lot of roll down.
Yeah, but there are a few people above me with injuries or like retired from HYROX. or not focusing on HYROX, and have like confirmed that they will not be appearing in any majors this season. And there's also a few people that I know have said that they're not going to go. So looking down the rankings, I think it's pretty likely. So I'm just trying to hold my nerve and stay confident. And if I get an invitation, I'll absolutely take it.
Well, I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about world champs a bit. So you finished third overall, which was first in your age group. When you showed up at world champs, who else is there? Like, do you know all the gals that were like, who I have to beat?
I knew a few on the start line. I think I was aware of a few because I'd raced them. I think I was aware of most of the top five. What was actually the top five? I know who was on the podium, and I know Laura came fifth, but who came fourth?
Let's have a look. Race results. What was it? Nice?
Yeah.
HYROX women age group. It was, this is wrong. Was there another race in Nice recently?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back to high result, which is better than HYROX site. Hold on. If I type the word Lucy in, you are the first one that comes up.
Am I?
You're the first Lucy of all the Lucys.
Brilliant.
Okay, Nice 2024. First in age group. Come on, damn it. How do I sort by age group on here? HYROX Pro Women. Here we go. All age groups, all nations. 16 to 24. Lena, who you just raced again, right?
No, she raced in Hamburg.
Lucy, Lena, Lisa, Laura. That's a lot.
Okay, Laura came fourth. Okay, fair enough.
That's a lot of L's.
Yeah, I know. I figured that out quite quickly. Actually, I think it was my boyfriend that figured that out. But yeah, he was like all the top 4 L's, and I was like, that's fun. What a good initial to have.
I feel like Lucy's a common English name, no?
I think it's pretty common, yeah.
Let's go called Lucy. Right? There's a lot of Emmas too, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is pretty common. But yeah, if I'm the first Lucy that comes up when you type Lucy in, then that's a win.
Let's go. So Lucy, Lena, Lisa, Laura, Hannah Richter, Francesca. So all these you knew.
I think I knew of about 5 people, and I honestly I was really, really expecting for it to be a really close race. Like I was preparing myself to have to go unbroken on the wall balls to maybe win.
On the what?
On the wall balls at the end.
Okay. Do you mean the wall balls?
To go unbroken, I was honestly expecting to be fighting it out like for the whole way. And yeah, I think Laura, who came fourth, I know she had food poisoning. And she's great. She's super fast. She's an ex like Danish national runner. And yeah, she's got some ridiculous PBs. Absolutely, yeah. Shout out Laura. She's rapid. And yeah, I was really expecting to like be racing with people the whole way. Lena, I was aware of. She had the under 24 open world record. And then I broke it, and then Joanna broke it. But obviously Joanna wasn't on the scene then, so didn't have to race her. Looking forward to racing her at some point though. And yeah, I think I was aware of those two. I think those two were the main two that I was like, it's going to be us 3 for the podium. So was it Lisa that came third? Yeah.
I already moved on, but yes.
Yeah, I think I'd seen.
But they weren't close. Before. You beat Lena by almost 3 minutes. You beat her by 2.5 minutes, and then Lena and Lisa were neck and neck.
Yeah, I know. I honestly wasn't expecting it. I think I kind of, these girls, like I said earlier, absolutely took off the start. Like I was expecting that to happen. I was prepared for everyone to take off at like 3:30 per K, and I was like, you're just not going to go with that, and I didn't, and I held my nerve and I stuck to my plan. And I came into the ski like I think 20 seconds or something off the lead. And again, these girls are like skiing like maniacs. And I was like, it's okay, just let them go. I'm not going to do that. I think I was skiing at like 2:12 per 500, like really chilling. And again, people sending it around the second run lap. And I'm like, just hold on to the gap between you and the lead. It's probably going to be like 30 seconds at this point. There's absolutely nothing stopping you from making up 30 seconds. You can do that in one run or one station. So I was like, just chill. And that my plan was kind of to take the lead in maybe the burpees or something. and be there or thereabouts by the time I get to the row. But I'm also pretty strong in the second half of the race, so I was fully trusting myself. And yeah, I held the gap to the lead in the second run, and I think I still ran a 3:40 or something second kilometer, holding a gap, like not even chasing. So it just shows how quickly this race started. And I came into the sled push maybe like 20 or 30 seconds behind the lead, and I'd caught the lead up by the end of the first length of the sled push because these girls had just absolutely killed it in the first like couple of runs and station. And yeah, just I kind of came into the sled and kept going, just like ran through the sled with the sled. um, and that's, yeah, I kind of looked around and I was like, my plan was to just move if they move, and I was like, no one's moving, I'm just going to go and take this on. And I think by the time I'd got to the sled pull, I'd opened more of a gap, and I got to the burpees, and I think I was like halfway around this little like horseshoe shape that the burpees made. And I look back and I'm like, where is second? Like, I genuinely for a second thought I'd cheated. I was like, have I skipped a lap? Have I like done something wrong? Have I skipped a length on the sleds? Like, am I getting a penalty? And I kind of went through this as I'm burping in my head, and I was like, no, I literally have not done anything wrong that warrants a penalty or anything. I'm just doing my race plan. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
So let's look at who's in front of you here for Hong Kong. So here you are down in 24.
Yeah.
So who are these? You said like don't race anymore. You mean like Chris?
Chris has said she's not going, and Rebecca below her is injured.
Okay.
So,
I know Maria would want to go, right?
yeah, I think so.
Jess and Alina.
Jess, I thought was going, but I literally just before this saw on her Instagram she has announced she's taking part in a race in, I think it's Dubai, which is, I'm pretty sure, where she's based.
Yes.
And I think it clashes. So yeah,
All right. Then we got Alina and Jess. They want to go, right?
I guess so. Yeah,
Jade and Camilla.
Camilla, I think Meg said wasn't going, but I don't know.
And then what about the bottom half of the Elite 15, which is Zara, Lena, Michaela, Sika, Yana?
I think most of them will go. I'm not sure. I think Michaela's been injured. I don't know if she still is. Yeah, I'm not sure. Amy said she's not going.
Oh, that's right. Amy did say she's not going.
But I guess out of all the others, I would assume they would go.
Yeah, Joanna, Lauren, Kate Davey, Ida. Yeah, Ida's not afraid of a little travel.
No.
Well, if not, you're going to need to race again, right?
Yeah.
And then you need to get what you need to get to average. Right now, it's 103.02. That'll probably drop a little bit, 102 high. So, what do you need to get to drop down to that? Do we know? Have you done the math?
Well, I did 103.58, so I guess like a low 102.
Right.
I think I can get like a minute off my time, like minimum, without even gaining any fitness, because my first race of the season, obviously over the weekend, things were a little bit sloppy. It's just like getting back into the swing of like learning how to actually execute a race again. And I think honestly, I've made more gains over the off season than my like brain would have me realize on that start line. And so I almost raced like too conservatively. Like there are things where I broke, and I'm just like, why the hell did you break there? Like, you didn't need to. Like I put the farmer's carry down.
Oh, come on, Lucy.
I know, and that's never been a strong point for me. And I obviously have worked over the off season on that, and I was like, kind of halfway, and I was like, oh, this is easy. I've got this, and I got one more length down. I was like, oh no, you better break just in case you blow up. And I'm like, there's no more grip stuff to go.
Right, but that's how you learn. I mean, that's what racing is, right? Like that's every time is we learn something.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I mean, like there you go. There's like 10-15 seconds like off immediately. Again, like the sled pull, there was like no chalk in sight until I realized where it was hidden on the fourth length.
Where was it?
I was like, I'm gonna run over and get that. So obviously, I just cost myself like 10 seconds going.
Why? Just the bucket wasn't nearby.
It was like hidden behind. You know when they stack the weights for like the men's pro division, and they're just kind of up against the barriers. Yeah, it was like hidden behind those. And so I'm like,
it's almost like you need to do a little recon, because I've seen that happen with the pros, where like they get to the station and they're like looking for it and they have to grab
that's
it.
what I was doing. I think every length when I was going between the sled, I was like, where is this chalk? Because there must be some somewhere. I can see it on the floor. And yeah, the rope felt like an elastic band when I was trying to pull the sled, and I was thinking, God, get a move on, Lucy. Like, you're gonna fall behind your splits. And there was nothing I could do because it was just slipping through my hands. And then obviously I noticed it, put chalk on my hands for the fourth length, and the sled absolutely flew. And I was like, okay, well, there you go. If I chalk my hands for the first three lengths, then immediately I'm quicker.
So
Uh,
what is next on the calendar?
so if I don't make Hong Kong, I think I'll target a race in like early December. So maybe Stockholm or Frankfurt. I think those are the 7th and 8th weekend of December. And then the following weekend is Marseille in France. But honestly, I think I'd rather race the previous weekend because that next weekend happens to be my birthday.
Oh, happy
Or my
birthday
birthday
coming up.
weekend, at least.
Your big 21st?
It is, yeah.
Well, in America, it's a big deal because you can drink legally, but I
Yeah,
feel like
I
over there, you guys go to the bar when you're like 15. You go to the local bar. It doesn't
know.
matter.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing I'm turning 21 because obviously World Champs is in Chicago this year. So
I was gonna say, why not come to America and race? We got some races coming up.
yeah, I know it's just big travel, especially if I'm going to go to Hong Kong. Well, I mean, if I'm going to go to Hong Kong, I'm not going to race again before Christmas anyway.
Right. Well,
Um,
the Vegas major is February 1st.
yeah, I know.
So
So if I don't make Hong Kong, then I'll race and try and get my time down for that. But yeah, I've got to be selective about courses, I guess, because we've still got this whole thing.
I know, man. It's and there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's not like like even if it
Yeah.
was fast in the previous year, you just don't know.
It's just luck. I think like I was kind of hoping Poznan would be fast. And it definitely wasn't slow. I would say it's like average. It was nice because it was a really quiet course. And that's what I was kind of hoping for and expecting. But yeah, I think the run lap was like slightly short, but the rock zone was massive.
Yeah,
So it's like even
there's
out.
about half the people in Poznan than Hamburg this past weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like I didn't consider like what the field would be like when I entered. I think I was just like, oh, I'm going to go for a time. And had I have realized that also it was the cutoff for Hong Kong, I might have put some more thought into which one I went to. And yeah, I regret not going to Hamburg. I think I would have gone faster there.
Really.
um, yeah, I think one being able to race Lena and Ida as well. Because I love a race. Like I will never back down from a race. And this is why I'm excited to get into the Elite 15 at some point.
Because then you really get
And
to race.
because then I really get to race, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier about like what the goal of an actual race is and what I go into it thinking about. And obviously, the goal for the weekend just gone was to get a time to get into the elite, or at least get myself closer to getting into the elite. And yeah, the goal for an Elite 15 race, you're on a course racing 15 other people. Like you're not going for a time. I think that's a product of the race, and I think it's interesting because the weekend just gone, I was going for a time, and I expected the win to be a product of the time because I was like, if I'm going to hit this goal time and anyone beats me, fair enough, because it's fast. But yeah, I think obviously in an Elite 15 race, you're racing the best in the world, and obviously, so then it's going to be fast. So as a result of getting as high up in that, like, placings as you can, you're going to run a fast time. So I guess it depends what you want to get out of it. But like I said, I love a race, and I'm an ex cross country runner and track runner. So it's just like, I'm on that start line. Let's go then. Come on.
All right, perfect. I think that's a good place to end.